Hey Cole, thanks for coming out to the camp. Coach Mike, just looking at the video analysis. Let's go over some of the raw data, which your height was showing at 6'1", your height at your weight at 155. Top fastball came in at looks like 72, and changeup was at about 60 to 61. So the difference of 10 miles an hour between the fastball and changeup is good. In reference to your stride, we're right out there where it needs to be. 85% to 100% is good. I'm going to talk about how you come out to your stride. At the end of the stride is what I would like you to work on a little bit more. We'll get to that here in a minute. But let's just start the analysis by going into the leg lift to the top of your leg lift. So what we talked about is all the scientific studies that show that as you come to the top of the leg lift, that you start to move your body earlier. High velocity pitchers get their body moving earlier at the top of the leg lift than low velocity pitchers. So our top of the leg lift is right there. And you see, if you look at the background of the other camper that's in the red shorts, you can see that your body really doesn't move. You lift your leg up to the top of the leg lift here. Then once it gets to the top, then you decide to start moving forward where you generate with your hips. Okay, so what I would recommend to you is start to get your body, or your hips in particular, moving forward before it gets to the top of that leg lift. It's okay to counter rotate like you're doing here. What counter rotation is where you bring your leg back, your shoulders are turned in. You know, a lot of people will do that to stay closed. You just have to be careful when you counter rotate this leg, that this leg does not get aggressive. This leg is there to assist the hips in going forward, which the hips are the aggressive part, moving forward and down at the same time. They go down because you're loading your leg or bending your leg down here. And then what gets aggressive also is this back leg, the drive, as we're about to open up our front foot at the end of the stride. So let's watch how we go forward. Top of leg lift, you got a good forward lean right there, starting to drive with the hips. Here comes the front side. You're even starting to lean back a little bit, which is fine. But then you're going to watch this leg. See how the hips started, but then once you kind of lean back a little bit in here, then all of a sudden you just shoot this leg out. So you see how you shoot your leg out right here, and then the hips slow down. This would be the main thing that I would work with. You need to get this front leg to be less aggressive and more passive. And we want to get the hips to be the part that is aggressive as this front leg, okay? As we go into, see how far you're stretching out with that front leg. As we go into foot plant, right into here, you don't have a bad angle, pretty good angle with your back leg at this point, where we want to drive with the back leg. We want to drive with this back leg to get our stride out a little bit and start getting this hip to turn counterclockwise. But you're going to see that that back leg is bent, and as we open up our front foot to land, that knee just rolls over. So you're not using any of your back leg at all. You're not using any of your lower body to drive. When that happens, then the upper body overcompensates to get the ball to the plate, and that's exactly what you're doing. So you're seeing that as you land, let's get the foot plant right there, your front foot lands, you're going to see this front side pulled out. I can hardly even see your elbow. Because you had no lower body drive, then what the body automatically does is says to itself, since there's no power in the lower body, well then I have to throw with my upper body. Very similar to swinging a bat. If you're not going to rotate your hips and really get your hips into it, then you're swinging with all arms. Very similar. So that's what you're doing. That's where we need to get the hips going, get the back leg to drive into the front foot. And then you're going to see, at least on one of these videos, I saw this front foot. If I was to draw a line with the front foot, this front foot is kind of facing toward the third base batter box. We want the front foot to face toward the right-handed batter's box, or actually yours is facing toward the dugout. We want that toe to face toward the batter's box or to the plate for the main purpose that this front leg has to stabilize. It has to handle all the power that you have in the air so that when you land on that front leg, that it doesn't move, and then all that power then goes up into your arm. If that front leg moves, you're losing some of the power that you're generating through the stride. So because this is bent, it's almost like you roll your ankle. On one of these, you actually correct it. Let me see if it's this one. See that? See how your ankle starts to roll out? That's that force pushing on your leg. But if your toe is toward the right-handed batter's box, your front leg would be able to take that power a lot better. So all that movement that you see in your knee right there is a loss of some of the power, even though you're not driving with the back leg. But you do have size. You have mass at 155. So that is power that will go up your front leg, but that's where you're losing that. Release point. I think it's on another video. There, you see, you start to turn it. You actually start to turn that front foot. That's what I was looking for in another video. Let's watch the front view. This is where you're really going to see your front side pull out at foot plant. Remember, there are two phases of pitching. You have the stride phase, and then you have the throwing phase. Scientists have shown that there is a direct correlation between high velocity and low velocity pitchers, where high velocity pitchers will separate this phase between throwing and the stride phase. In other words, they're not going to throw the ball with the upper half or the throwing phase until that stride phase ends. So what we're going to watch with you come forward, you got a good load in the back leg. You can see you loading the back leg, load to explode, which is good. Bend to extend. This is where you see yourself reaching with that front foot. We need to drive with the hips. You need to feel those hips drive, drive, drive. And then what you're going to watch, right at heel, when the heel plants, you actually start turning. Watch it. I'm looking at your glove side. You start to pull out of your glove side. Right here, you start to pull out. Pulling out more, still haven't landed yet. So now you're in the throwing phase while you're still in the stride phase. Throwing more, you see the elbow come out even more. And what's happening is, if you notice, you can see your back arm right there. If you see where you're holding the ball, as you pull that glove side out, it acts like a seesaw. So you have somewhat of hip to shoulder separation there. But as I pull my glove side out, look how that arm starts to disappear, because you're pulling the arm around with it too. Okay, it looks like right about here is foot plant. And you can see how far open your glove side is. So you just need to delay this. We want to be in this position here when we land. This front side needs to be there. We don't need to pull it out until we land. And then hopefully the hips will be a little bit open at this point if you drive with your back leg. Let's look at the rear. And we know that you load real well. We could see that right there. But let's look at the load. We get you on line. So your load is, I'm looking at this, as you're coming down, you're moving forward and sinking at the same time, but you're seeing that leg reach out. We need to drive more with the hips rather than reaching with the leg. When you reach with the leg, that's pulling your front side out also. This is the one that I saw, if I remember. So you see where your foot is pointed? Your foot is pointed toward the dugout. Now, if I was behind you and was going to push through your hips, it would almost be impossible for you to keep me from pushing you forward on the hips because of how your foot angle is. So then look at that. See that right there? If I was to push you, you'd probably roll your ankle. But what you do to fix it is, look, you do it on your own. And then you roll it out, because you probably developed a little bit more power there, and you actually roll it out to handle some of that power that you have because it's too much stress on your ankle. You need to land basically in this position right here, so that then that is able to handle the power that you're bringing forward with your body, and it'll be able to stabilize a lot quicker. But this right here, it's almost like you're going to roll your ankle at that point. So I appreciate you coming out. I had a good time working with you. Of course, I always wish we had a little bit more time. If you have any questions at all about what we talked about, or if you want to send any videos to me in the games, you're more than welcome to. Just talk to Coach Mark. He'll be happy to give you the information. And again, best of luck to you, and continue loving the game of baseball. Give it lots of respect.